Big disclaimer. Okay, of course. So the real podcast this week, that was just a little tidbit because Shane has nothing else to do with his life, so he popped on in. But the real episode this week's all about that Last of Us, and we're gonna be spoiling the whole thing.
So warning.
So warning, all one of y'all.
Spoiler
all
alert.
one of you. If you haven't played the game, we are gonna spoil.
Spoilers.
So,
Spoilers.
We'll give them 5 seconds now. I mean,
All right,
I see
so
them,
pause.
but I see our fans right now. Like they're dropping out of their chairs, running to their computer, trying to hit the space
Yeah,
bar.
you gotta go look at that YouTube analytics, and everybody leaves right now because nobody wants to.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
All right, I'm done with that shit.
All
All right,
right.
so let's get right into it. First impressions, Andy. Like a quick synopsis. What are you feeling about that game?
I don't want to compare it to Red Dead, but it was the best. People don't really know my obsession with Red Dead about how much I loved it, but this was easily the best game since Red Dead.
Yep.
And
Yes.
people don't know, but I actually went out and I've had an Xbox since it was launched. Never had a PS3. I went out and bought a PS3 specifically for this game, and it was completely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I
heard that a lot.
It's worth it.
What's funny is a lot of people have been comparing it to Red Dead in the sense that it's like a really engrossing story with gameplay that like you love to play.
Yes, and I agree. But the thing is, as much as I love Red Dead, the story comparison, Red Dead had nothing on Last of Us.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yes, if you compare the story with the gameplay about how those were both super good, like one didn't take away from the other, yes, I'd agree that they were in the same level of great story and great gameplay. But the story of The Last of Us was so much better than anything that I've ever played.
Yes.
David, what are your thoughts? I know, David, you're a big Uncharted fan, of course, by
big
the same
Uncharted fan.
developer. Yeah, so what are your thoughts? I know you had high hopes.
I had very high expectations for the game, and they were all met and surpassed.
Woo-wee!
10 out of 10. 10
Oh,
Davids.
man.
I don't give 10 out of 10s, but I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
I gave it 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
I'd basically give it a 10 out of 10 based on the sole fact that I have, like, literally no complaints.
Here's the thing, though.
That it ended? That's my complaint.
Here's the thing, though. I think it was so well done. I would love to play more, but I don't want any more of them.
No, but see, that's good for you, because I was reading up, I was doing my research afterwards, and they said that they're, what they ended up saying was, if it does well, air quotation marks,
Which did. It sells
out
everywhere.
they will go ahead and do DLC, but, bolded and underlined, the Ellie and Joel storyline is done.
Okay, so
good.
pause. The one thing about that is they said the DLC is that storyline is done. So you don't know if maybe that, like, it's been, like, somewhat misquoted, but...
When I read it, I thought they said Ellie and Joel's story was done.
Yeah,
that's what I got out of it.
I don't
and
know.
that's what I hope.
Which is good. I don't want anything. I don't want any prequels, sequels.
They're gonna do
anything.
a sequel with these characters. I wouldn't be surprised if they go well in the future, where it's just Ellie or something.
No, I don't want that.
But you see, the thing is, I don't want that. But if they did it, they would not do it if it wasn't gonna be like on par with what we just got.
Yeah, but don't you think like if they just got rid of these characters and had a sequel, it would just kind of be like the same thing again?
They set it up so it was like get rid of the story. The mechanics of that game were very repetitive, but it was a good repetitive. All games are repetitive, but it was a good one. So if that's all it is, and that's all they need to do, why don't they do a DLC or a sequel with the what was the
Tommy?
Was it Tommy?
Tommy's a brother.
No. The Black family. It was perfect. There was a little
Henry
kid and an
Sam?
older guy.
Yeah, but we already know they die.
Yeah, but that's not the point. Is you can do a sequel from all the way up, and at the end of their game, they can meet Joel.
Maybe great.
It's
that's not a bad idea.
There's not a Naughty Dog's not opposed to having harsh, ambiguous endings. So
my money is on the brother. Okay, here's my money, and I'm calling it right now. Because they mentioned so much of the brother was involved with the Fireflies at that time period, and we just hear all these things about the Fireflies, and we hear about Tommy being with them, and we kind of see like the demise of them, but we don't really see like the rising. So my call is, the DLC will be all about Tommy joining the Fireflies and like kind of like that rise to power kind of thing, and up to finding Ellie, or like not finding her, but like delivering her.
Don't you need a companion of some sort? So are they just going to throw a random person in there?
I mean, there is a decent chunk where, like... I mean, the game mechanics don't require...
Well, here we go. I mean, Ellie was... Like, they all knew her since she was born, because that one lady, the one who gets killed at the end, spoiler...
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, like, I helped raise her, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, like, you could play with, like, a super young Ellie, if anything, with the Fireflies. Because she was
There's a lot of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they can do with it.
I don't think they've been actively developing like the DLC, so I think like they're just now kind of starting to do it. So I still think it's probably a few months off, but we'll see. Let's just go down like chronologically.
Yeah, because I have stuff to say about different parts, so I'd rather somebody.
So I've done a quick like bullet point of like the main chapter titles, if you will, like the main points of each thing, the climaxes. Right. So let's just go, of course, the opening scene. They pulled an Uncharted Colombian boy.
Okay, so I have something about the opening scene.
Okay, well, describe it a little bit first.
The opening scene was, you first start out in your Joel's daughter, Sarah. Wasn't her name Sarah, right?
Yeah, Sarah.
Yes. And so you start the game, and there's this awesome atmosphere, and if you're a player sort of like I am, you walk around and you look at everything.
Yeah.
Like, I would be the worst movie director ever, because I like walk around in the room for like 15 minutes before I leave. So you look at everything. You walk around, you get this really creepy vibe. You're this like little girl who they established like really loved her dad, and like there was this good little moment before, and then she comes downstairs. Her dad runs in. It's clear the zombie outbreak is happening, and then a bunch of stuff goes down, and eventually she ends up getting shot by a U.S. soldier who was told to kill both her and Joel.
Yeah.
So she gets shot, and then Tommy ends up shooting the soldier. So Sarah ends up dying in Joel's arms, which was super sad.
Yes.
Yeah, my girlfriend cried.
But yes, that was my point. Is you told me that Kayla cried, so I told Lauren that Kayla cried, and we did the whole mission. You know, it was really awesome when you're running through all this stuff. It was super stressful.
Yeah.
First off, when the things were chasing you and you're running with Sarah.
Because
in your arms.
what I did at one point was I didn't realize like they're gonna kill me. So when I was carrying Sarah through like when the buildings were like on fire and like you're like running through that town, I was like exploring too. I was like, I'm gonna look at the storefronts.
Yeah, and then you die.
And then like a zombie like tore my neck to shreds, and I was
and you thought the game was. I thought the game was like over for splits.
Exactly. I was like, I can just walk in whatever.
I had so many moments where I died. I'm like, well, Joel's dead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, that's just okay. Yeah, continue.
But going
Andy.
back to my thing was, I told her that, and so we went through that whole awesome opening story. Sarah gets shot. It ends. It goes to black. It is in the process of going into the next scene, and I look at Lauren, and she has tears coming down her eyes, and she looks at me, and she goes, "I thought Kayla was being a wuss or something," and then she, like, Lauren herself is crying.
It's crazy how like I feel like scenes like that have happened so many times in movies and stuff, and I've just always been like, oh, whoa, whoa. But it's like, I feel like maybe it's something because you played as her or something. It's like, we saw this character for like a couple minutes, she died, and it's a video game, and yet it's more effective than most movies.
Yes, I agree that it was more effective than most movies, but they also did an exceptionally good job of establishing that character and making her care about it. So they did get the added benefit of us controlling both of them, but like, you can't ignore the fact that they did a great job of establishing.
Yeah, I think that it wouldn't have been such a strong emotional scene had you not played as her. Like, if the entire time you're Joel, like, the entire time, we would have not had as emotional of a connection to that character.
Yeah. It's, I love how Naughty Dog always pulls shit. Like they show off in previews, they're the best at previewing games. Where they show off just enough to make you want to play it, and then there's all this shit when you play it that just shocks you.
Yeah, that you had no idea about.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, I had no idea that he had a daughter. Because I thought the entire time that Ellie was his daughter when I watched that trailer.
Yeah.
but like not knowing that he had that kind of like fucked up backstory, I was like, whoa, okay. Like,
yeah. So then after that awesome scene, we jump ahead. That's when the outbreak, of course, like first happens.
Yes.
Yeah, well, like I didn't have any idea that it was 20 years later. I really didn't watch that many like.
I mean,
they
did
previews.
A decent job of like aging him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like it jumped ahead 20 years, and Lauren and I both looked at each other like, "Whoa, this isn't like something that just happened. They've been living like this for forever."
Yeah,
and then they did a great job of establishing that.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
And it's great because like now you're in the apocalypse has basically already happened. A lot of like the cities, like the government's already lost a lot of the cities.
Yes.
And you really, then from there on, you understand like Joel's cold vibe and how ruthless he is, because he's just like, he basically hates everyone because he's in a shit world and his daughter got killed by the shit world.
Also, side note, I think that is also part of the reason. I mean, we'll get to the ending eventually, but like, I think that sets it up where he's in this fucked up world where he hates everyone. He has no reason to like help anybody out. Like, there's no reason to be like, oh, I have hope for humanity. It's like, no, humanity fucking sucks, and I think that's why like you're conditioned to that. You're kind of like, you see that throughout the entire game, where like at the end, you're like, okay, he's not that bad of a guy. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't want to jump to the end, but at the same time, you can say it the whole opposite way, because his whole ending motivation was, when you look at it from anybody's point of view other than his, was super selfish.
Yeah, like he's a total
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. I want to talk about,
yes.
like, is Joel the worst character in all of gaming or not? Because he's kind of an asshole, but...
Yes and no.
All right,
so we're in the town now. We're in the town now with Trish
Tess.
or whatever. Tess, yes.
So, I'm kind of... This is the one character I'm kind of like... I get why she existed, because she is kind of like there to show you how, like...
She was the tutorial, though. I felt the same way, because did you not hate her for, like, the first 10 minutes? Because every time she said anything to you, she was like, run up here, go through there, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, he was like, wow, you're pretty, like, demanding today. And I felt the same way. But then, like, afterwards, it was like, they didn't have, like, a super obvious tutorial how to do anything, and she was the tutorial. So that was just a interesting...
Side note, the first kind of real point in the game that I was like, wow, this game is different and this is fucking awesome. My first real kind of like eye-opener was when you're walking in that town and then they're shooting those people in the head, the ones that are infected, like the police like have them all quarantined, and you're like walking and watching that scene. I got really close. I'm sure you guys did it too, but I got really close to like one of the police officers, and he yelled at me and he's like, yo, like back the fuck up. And then I tried to like do it again. I tried to like smash in there so he could yell at me again, and he just shot me in the head. And I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't have that happen.
Oh, really?
That's like... The other thing is, there are all these games that are so like pro like choice and directions, like The Witcher. You know, there's how many different endings, but we all played the same pretty narrow storyline. And we all had probably very different gameplays. Because I didn't even walk up that close. I stood back and just watched the whole thing go.
Oh, I tried to get in there, and he just shot me in the head, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, David, I heard that online later. It's like, that like,
oh, you didn't do it either?
No, but I read it online. I like watched a video afterwards. It's crazy.
That's the first time I saw that. And then I tried it like from then on in the game. I tried like annoying people, and then like they would just kill you.
The thing is, I annoyed the people right after them. They were talking, and one of the guys was like, dude, can you, like, back up? Or something to that effect. He was, like, annoyed that I was there. And then the other dude was like, yo, don't worry. It's, like, Joel, he's cool. And he was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah,
that's something to
that
effect.
Oh, no. Multiple times in the game, people will tell you, like, back the fuck up. Like, don't touch me again. And, like, if you, like, jam into them again, like, you just walk into them, they'll just, like, push you and then, like, shoot you in the head. And I was just like,
that's like,
whoa,
Andy, you played Half-Life 2, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, they had that in Half-Life 2, David, where it's like, you're in this imprisoned city and the Combine, you can kind of, like, pester them, and they'll get back at you and start trying to kill you, and it's really cool. But, Tess, I feel like I didn't like her as a character, but I understand the necessity of her, because if you imagine, because she's fucking like ruthless, like, we're shitty people, Joel, that's how it's always like, where she's just like a bitch, and it's like, I feel like imagine if she didn't exist in the game, Joel would be even more of a dick because you don't get like that like sense that this is how people are. It's like she was a total bitch and like just ruthless
But then at the same time, when you jump ahead to where, I'll let you go, Chris. I don't want to.
You're jumping ahead again.
Yeah, whenever she ends up actually getting bit and it knows that she's gonna die, like I still cared at that point, even though she was like a bitch or whatever. Like,
well, I mean,
the way she went about it.
Yeah, and she sacrifices her. Yeah, so we'll go into the fact that like
she sacrifices with big air quotes because she didn't really do much. Like in the game, like she's like, "Oh, go, I'll hold him off," and then the other people walk in and like shoot her once. Yeah. I don't even know how many people. I mean, I think she took out 2 or 3.
Yeah, but So anyways, yeah. So she gets bit. And she basically she gets killed by the military because she knows she's going to turn infected. Yes. And she uses that time to let Joel and Ellie escape. So now Joel is now stuck with Ellie, and he's basically has a time there where he's just kind of like hates her. Yeah. Because like she's now a burden on him, and they haven't developed a relationship here where he cares about her. He's just kind of annoyed, and of course, with the history and stuff, it's like
what I think happened was I developed a relationship with Ellie way before Joel.
Yeah, of course.
Because I remember there were points where Joel would say something, and I'd be like,
"You're a dick."
Calm down.
Yeah,
she's just trying. Like she just saved you. You were being strangled underwater, and I was for sure that I wasn't pressing the button fast enough. I was like, "Fuck, man, I'm gonna die."
That's why it's like, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like if Tess wasn't there and you didn't have that opening scene, like I would just hate Joel. Because like he's such a dick for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so go further through. We can talk at this point. Like, of course, the setting in the game is just like stunning. It's like one of those games. It's like BioShock Infinite had it, and a lot of games have it, where you stop and you look around. Yes. Because it's just like pretty.
It's almost obnoxious though. Like I love that. Like I absolutely I'll do that when games that don't necessarily even need it. Like I love to look at like everything that was built or like how they designed everything, or just like walk around the area and like really take it all in and explore. But like there were certain parts in that game where I was like, part of me really wanted to just go to the next part, and the other like gaming part of me was like, no, dude, you gotta check that other room. There might be stuff.
Yeah, I did a lot of that. I did a lot of. I checked every single room in that entire game.
Seriously, every room.
And I love how like you check everything, and like 90% of the time, there's nothing in it.
There's nothing there. The best was God of War falls trap to this like every time you're supposed to go somewhere, if you go the opposite way, you get like. A bunch of the red orbs or a power up or whatever. And this game doesn't do that. I remember there was one part where it was closer to the end. I was walking in like the Firefly Hospital area, and I walked all the way down to the last like tent room, and there was nothing in it. And I was like, what? Yep. There used to be something in here. I deserve like a reward for going this far.
It's like at the same time you have of course all video games don't have realism in the sense that like there's no way all this ammo would be left around.
No, like, see, you guys didn't play it on hard.
Yeah, but like the same thing is like this game is like that's what I'm saying, like 90% of the drawers you open, nothing in it.
Yeah.
Or like a broken scissor. Like it's like it's really anyways, okay, so now I believe the next character we meet is Bill before Henry, right? Yeah. So what are your thoughts on
Hold on. I have Bill was gay.
Yes. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
How they revealed that subtly, and it also doesn't really matter.
The first thing they said subtly, he was like, it was my partner or something.
Yeah.
And he said it like slightly off, to where it's like, was he your partner or was he like your partner?
Well, that's what in the post world, like, is that what they refer to, like your survival partner? Like this is who I survived
exactly. I was confused.
Now?
I didn't know until the very, 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 very end.
Yeah, I love how they like subtly like did that, and it's not even like that big of a deal. You know what I mean?
Well,
but it's just like
the other thing that I thought was that Bill was, but what was his I don't remember his buddy's name, but I didn't know if his buddy was. Like part of me thought that Bill was, but his buddy wasn't, and it was like Bill was, lusting after his buddy or whatever, because then in the note there was nothing.
Yeah.
About it. Literally nothing.
Well, that's what I got him. Well, that's why I got a little like hint that he was gay, but then I read the note about okay, so of course we find Bill's partner. He's run away. He left an asshole note about how much he hates Bill, how blah blah, and he hangs himself. Like we find
because he
find
got
him
bit
already, like hung and dead. So I just assumed that like all like thoughts of Bill being gay was instantly gone because I'm like, obviously it's just like this guy's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
But then of course it ended up being the case.
Well, because it wasn't. The thing was, you could have not walked up to Bill and showed him that note.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can, like, I found the note.
I don't think I played that. Wait, what? You can show him the note?
Remember, you found the note?
Yeah.
And Bill's, when you give the note to Bill,
I didn't know you could give him the note.
It.
I didn't know that.
See, I gave him the note, and that's when it was really clear.
Yeah, I gave him the note
clear.
too.
Because
you see, that's why I was like, I
didn't know you didn't have to do that.
No, you didn't have to. It just had the arrow that was like an optional speech option.
Wow.
And so when you gave it to Bill, he was like, he didn't say anything, but he was like super sad and he was crying and stuff.
Really? I didn't see that part. Yeah,
I saw. So of course, then it's revealed. Of course, Bill is gay because Ellie finds the gay porno magazine, and that I like that because
that was funny.
I like that because it's like it's funny because it's like, okay, if you didn't know by now, here's like evident truth in a joking, like in a comical scene. And it's one of the few like laughing scenes in the whole entire game.
It was. It was like one of the
very well done. Like the pacing and everything was very well done. And yeah, I like Bill as a character because it's like you always need in like these apocalypse times. There's always the one guy that's like huddled down with all his traps and like kind of smart and savvy, but he's paranoid like crazy. And obviously Bill was that character.
Also, hanging from my feet and shooting those zombies was one of the most stressful but fun parts of the game.
It's so stressful.
I died at least 20 times in that part.
Really?
Oh, I couldn't get past the stupid clicker. The clicker kept getting me
so David, you played
time.
it on normal, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, Andy played it on hard, so he had like an even harder experience.
I can't imagine.
I'm thinking of replaying it on like the hardest.
I played it on as hard as I could play it the first run through, and that scene, while super stressful, it only took me twice.
Really?
But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I died.
The second time, I was so stressed out and so nervous. I don't know if my like body instinctively let out like the adrenaline or whatever, because I knocked it out in the second time, but like I was super stressed out that time.
Yeah,
like,
it was so stressful.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah,
it's I mean, and that's the thing is like obviously we can't cover every moment in this game, but I mean like there's so many moments like that, especially like the sniper scene where you're like with Henry.
Yeah,
and it's just like
that's where I died 1,000 times.
Yeah, there's so many scenes like that. So, okay, then you get in the car and travel a little bit. We get to a scene which was revealed in trailers before, but if you hadn't seen the trailer, it was pretty cool. Where you're like, you encounter a man, and he looks hurt, but Joel knows he's not hurt.
See,
at
I
all.
didn't see the trailer.
Okay, so you want to go over it because I've seen that whole scene happen.
I didn't see the trailer, and what it was there was a dude like walking towards you, and he looked like he got shot or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Oh man, that dude's hurt." But I still felt that Joel wasn't going to help him because remember in the first scene he drove past those people on the road.
Yeah.
Or it was his brother drove past people.
Yes.
Whoever. Like,
yeah.
So I knew he wasn't going to help him, but then he was like, "Nope, that dude's not really hurt." And he just like drove over. It was a trap because the dude was trying to like look hurt so everybody else can ambush him. And so he drives over him and he drives in, crashes into a building and he falls out. And then that, to me, was one of the most stressful scenes because I had like 3 bullets in a half-broken plank.
Yeah,
so I like barely survived that.
Yeah, and that's what it's funny because it's another one of those things. It reiterates the fact that it's been 20 years and Joel's lived through this and he knows the fucking world.
Because even after that, Ellie says something like, how did you know, or something, and he says like, I've been on both sides of it, or like he said something to that effect. And
I feel like going back to DLC, I think that would be really fucking cool if we go back to
Joel,
when Joel
like,
was
10
a
years
total
in.
fucking ruthless dick. Because he had to have been if he makes mentions like that. So, alright, so we go through all that. I mean, there's minor scenes to talk about, but then we get into...
There's this scene where you were in you and Ellie are breaking into you're walking your way through the hotel, and you get separated, like you fall way down.
Yes.
There's the scene where you're in the spore-infested like basement
it's horrifying.
or whatever.
I hated
it. Yeah, I was so stressed out.
That has to have been one of the most stressed out I've ever been in a video game.
Yeah, because you're alone, and it's like.
I had to ask Chris afterwards if there was one of those bloaters in it, because I was fighting off some of those people, and then there was a bloater bomb, and I just hauled ass out of there. I was just like, nope, can't do it.
I killed the stupid thing.
I just sprinted out, swiped the door, ran in, and like had to pause it, and I was like, oh my god.
What's funny
I died so many times in that scene too, because I kept turning that stupid machine on, and then the bloater would come down and just like destroy me.
I've heard online too of like a lot of people somewhat complaining that you can actually run through a lot of points in the game, and you'll notice there's certain scenes where like you try, like there's one scene in particular where there's a bloater in the way of a door, and if you try to open the door you can't. It's like locked, and if you stealth your whole entire way, you try to open it and the bloater always hears you. And I feel like those parts were in there because they knew that.
Is that the scene at the university?
Yeah.
I believe in the dorm, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, you didn't have to fight the bloater.
What do you...
I didn't fight him either. Yeah.
I stealthed all the way through that. I stealthed through most of it because I didn't have bullets in most of it. And what happens is when you open that door, the bloater hears you, but if you keep tapping a square or whatever, he closes the door right as the bloater gets to you. It's like, it's super stressful. Like, you know, that's what I did, because I kept tapping it, and he comes up, and I run in, and then the door closed.
Interesting. Because, yeah, I've heard that, like, you can actually sprint through a lot of it.
Well, that's why when I talked to you, Chris, you said that you encountered him a bunch, but throughout my whole game, I only killed one bloater. And that was the one bloater that you
At the end, towards when you're getting to the hospital, I killed 3 of them in that one tunnel.
Yeah, dude.
I stealthed through that entire tunnel. I didn't fire a single bullet.
That's pretty impressive.
Really? That's impressive since
I
it was,
only had,
infested.
I had 3 bullets and, 2 bow and arrow, and that was all I had, because I used up so many in whatever level before.
Yeah. Well, that's probably... Yeah, let's talk about this, how we actually played it, because Andy, obviously, because you had it on a harder difficulty, you did a lot more stealth.
I'm sort of jumping to the end. When I finished the game, I read through all these other websites and what they thought of the ending.
Yeah.
And every single person said, it was this contrast between Joel slaughtering all of these people to get to Ellie. And I was like, slaughtering? Because I didn't kill a single person in that last thing where there was all those people. I didn't have enough bullets.
Wow.
Wait,
so how did you didn't? You broke their necks, though.
No, I didn't kill a single person.
That's crazy,
I
dude.
Stealthed through that entire thing.
It almost forced you to.
Well, because you know that part, you get to the halfway point, you hide behind that thing, and those 3 dudes run out.
Yeah.
And then you had to sprint because that dude busts open the door at the end. And then you just have to wait, and you can sneak in there. I snuck through that entire
That's really patient.
section.
That's really
You killed the doctor, though.
Yes, and that's the thing, is the moment I walked in the doctor, and he was like, I won't let you take her. He pulls out the knife. I immediately shot him in the head.
Wow.
I didn't even hesitate. And then that's what I was reading, is people were saying, there's this gruesome scene where you, slit the throat of the doctor and everything. And I was like, oh, man, I missed that. I just shot him in the head. But I went through that entire last scene, and I had a whole different vibe than everybody else, because I didn't slaughter, 80 fireflies. I stealthed through the whole thing.
Because I played the whole entire game. I played pseudo between, where I stealth killed everyone, where I would corner the guy, kill him, but I basically killed everyone.
Yeah, see,
I would stealthily do it. I didn't run and gun.
Stealth kills. Yes, I did a lot of stealth kills, but near the end, ammo was an option. Once Ellie did her thing, when you were just Ellie, I probably killed a handful of people after that, because I never got enough bullets after that to actually kill things.
Interesting.
That last part when you were with Ellie and the dude, and the stuff's coming into that building from those 3 different areas.
Yeah.
I was this close to dying. I had a Molotov, I had a bomb, and I had 2 bow and arrow and 3 bullets.
Those are bloaters there too.
I died. So yes, and I killed I did kill that one, and I hit him with a Molotov, and I guess the other dude killed him because I didn't kill him.
Wow.
Because I was honestly sprinting around there with 2 bow and arrows at that point, going, "I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die." I died so many times.
Yeah, and on that scene before of Ellie in the woods, speaking of good scenery,
Yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there, man.
Okay.
I know it's like one of the best snow levels of all time.
It is.
So the next characters we meet are Henry and Sam. I believe those are their names.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Henry. I don't know about the boy.
So what's funny about this game is going back to how we talked earlier about that opening scene where, like, it was super emotional, yet we've seen that scene so many times. I knew the Henry and Sam, how that was going to play out. Like, you had to have known that both of them were going to die. If not, at least one of them.
Yeah, I knew they were going to die.
Yet I was, like, fucking, like, jaw dropped. And it's just like...
See, that's
him shooting himself in the head immediately that quickly, I was like, what?
I'm still trying to analyze why I was so shocked. And it's like...
I did the same. I'm the same thing, Chris. Like, if you take a step back and you look at it in terms of video games and video game stories, like, obviously
it's like
that's
big
gonna
fucking
happen.
deal. It's like, yeah.
But while that was going on, the only thing that going through my head was like, wouldn't it be so awesome if I could play the rest of this game with like some more teammates or something? Like, I felt so much safer knowing that they were there.
Yeah.
But in the back of my head, I knew it was going to happen. Like, you knew it was.
Yeah.
And David was right. Like, you knew he was going to turn in that one scene when Ellie was talking with him. It was like a super given.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that went down, and me and Lauren were like, he's gone. He's going to turn. And then he ends up turning, and then he dies, and then what's-his-name shoots himself right in the head. And I did the same thing. Like, Lauren and I just looked at each other with our jaws, like, on the
I was
floor.
shocked.
We were like, what?
It's like I'm trying to like analyze the whole entire thing because I have to give this is where Naughty Dog's like a totally upper echelon development studio because they're like the writing alone and just like pacing and like little things are just so above other video game developers. But it's just like you finally get comfortable with these characters, but you know, like because of the scene where like they run away from Joel, like they leave Joel for dead, basically. It's like you know that's in the back of Joel's mind and stuff. So it's like when they have like that friendly talk and stuff, and you know it's like based on this world and like based on their history, there's still tension there. So it's like when the whole like Sam thing comes up, you're like, you still think like Henry might like just shoot Joel, like maybe not, obviously not kill him because he's your main character, but like there's still tension that he could totally like fuck shit up, and it's just like. So you still don't totally know what's going to happen, and then he shoots himself, and then they just completely go to fall.
Yeah, like, that's the best. That was, I think that's their 28 days later, like, you know, throw to, because the moment that first happened, it went black, and then ball plopped up, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 28 days later. But a quick note on one of the scenes right before where you and Henry, you know, you kill the two dudes in that building, and there was the dude with the spotlight, and they were shooting the clicker like way far away.
Yes.
I had 2 bow and arrows, or two arrows, and 4 pistol bullets, and I could not, for the life of me, pass that scene. That scene with the generator took me so long because you have to fight there, and I had like no bullets. So what you had to do was, you know, if you kill people, you end up getting more ammo.
Right.
So like I had to shoot people and hope they dropped enough ammo and hope I had enough time to reload it. And that scene just took me so long.
That's crazy. So then okay, fill me in. Like, what they go to fall? Okay, it's the brother. Then they get to the brother part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I'm pretty sure this is, in my opinion, the weakest part of the game.
I was just gonna say the exact same thing.
Yeah, it was the weakest part.
Like,
I don't know why, but it just was.
I don't know if it's against just put next to everything else, but also the fact that the game is longer than you would expect. It's like 15 plus hours, and it's like of any part that could get cut out. I understand the necessity of it, but it's kind of just like. I don't really
Well, it's because
care.
you needed that scene when Ellie ran away.
Yeah.
You needed that whole thing.
Yeah.
Because that's the first moment that Joel changes from, like, this is a business mission to I care about you and we're going to get this done sort of thing.
Yeah, true.
So you needed that. But it was, like, it just felt forced when, you know, you get to the camp and then a moment later it's overrun with people.
And for a game
forced.
that is so well presented and atmospheric and like well written and all this stuff, it felt like very subpar next to everything else.
Yeah.
Although the horse riding scene, I was like, I want to enjoy my horse ride because this is beautiful.
Yeah.
But see, that's interesting because I did the exact opposite. I was like, where the fuck is Ellie? I need to find her right now. And I like sprinted through the whole thing super quick. And like, I always stealthed and did the best approach to killing people. But when you're in that little camp, and I didn't know where Ellie was, and I had ammo, luckily, I just, like, gunned down that entire place, like, super quick.
Maybe that was intentional. They gave you a lot of ammo then.
Maybe.
Okay, so then fill me in on what happens, because, I mean, I beat this a couple of weeks ago, but... So we met the brother, then how does Joel get hurt?
No, you leave the brother on your horse, you go, and I don't know... where do you jump from that? Well,
the horse
Joel
dies.
Gets hurt when you're. No, you take the horse to the university, and that's where he gets hurt because you do that whole university scene, and then he falls off.
Right. He falls out the window.
He gets stabbed by the like crowbar or the rhubarb or whatever. And I thought he was done.
I thought he was done too.
I honestly thought...
I thought he was done.
The entire time, I was like, they're going to kill them off. They're going to kill one of them off. I was like, one of them is going to die.
That's exactly what I told Lauren. I was like, there's no way both of them escape the end of this.
I was like, one of them is going to die by the end of the game, for sure, like 100%. And then when that happened, I was like, okay,
Joel's done. You're going to play the last like 10-15% of the game as Ellie. Okay, I was convinced.
Save this thought, because I want to talk about more of this once we get to the ending. But, okay, so Joel gets hurt really badly because of the crowbar, and then they cut again to winter.
Mm-hmm.
And
the most
now,
beautiful scene of them all.
David, talk about the most beautiful scene of them all.
It was funny because I was watching with Christina, and it was like, you see that little like white rabbit, and I was like, oh, what a beautiful white... and it just like arrow through the head, and I was like, oh god. And then just playing that scene, like, I didn't know what the hell's going on first because I was walking around and stupid deer kept running away. But I was like, oh, okay, this is awesome. And I was just like enjoying the most beautiful scenery ever.
It's just like, it's shit like this that they pull, man.
It's just so like tranquil, like you're just like, oh, like okay.
The contrast between like, I'm pretty sure one of the main characters just died.
Yeah.
And so you're leaving me on this cliffhanger. It's like, hey, can you guys totally take your time? It doesn't matter how many tries. Kill this deer in this beautiful landscape with this and it's just like, it's fucking awesome. Where you're like,
it was awesome.
Holy. And it's like, I must admit, it took me a fucking long time.
It did take me a long time too.
I was kind of getting annoyed, to be honest. I was like, oh, fucking, like, ugh. But
that stupid deer saw me everywhere I went. I was like,
yeah. But it's like, it's so crazy because in the back of your mind, you're like, is Joel dead? Is Joel dead?
Yeah, that's what I did the whole time.
And you're casually killing this deer. So eventually kill the deer.
Although I like within like a few minutes into that scene though of the like snow and everything with the deer, I was like, okay, Joel's not dead, because I was like, if Joel had died, they would have made a very dramatic scene about it. Like she would have been like crying and like shit, but it was just so abrupt that I was just like, okay, there's just no way he's dead, unless like the only way I thought like, okay, is they have to like she's gonna like visit his grave or something and like
that's what I thought was gonna happen.
Like, and I was like that's when it's gonna have like the emotional like kind of like, okay, Joel's dead. But I was like, we didn't get that kind of like that ending of him being dead, of you just being like fuck. But so I was just like, okay, he has to be alive.
Anyways, so eventually you kill the deer, and then you meet up with two strangers. One which is named David. Not to be confused with David, our podcast. And so it's pretty interesting. You then, of course, realize Joel is alive because Ellie asks in return for the deer. She wants antibiotics, so obviously that's for Joel. And then you get swarmed by zombies. What did you think of this part, Andy?
It was fun, but I didn't have any ammo at all, like the whole time. I did have an invincible knife that was very convenient.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was convenient.
During that second part where you kind of like escaped with him and you're stuck in that last little area and they start coming in through like 3 directions or something, I had a Molotov and I had like 2 bullets and 2 bows. Like I had almost no ammo. So I was super stressed out. I had no health. Yeah. So anytime anything like slightly touched me, I died. So I don't know. It was hard, but it was fun.
Yeah, and of course the whole entire time you don't know if you can trust this new character or not. You kind of bond with him by killing a shit ton of zombies, so you think he's kind of like a good guy. But after killing them, then you get a quick switch around, and he becomes super evil. And basically, he blames, well, rightfully blames, I guess, Joel and Ellie for killing a bunch of his guys. And
that was another time where they said I killed a bunch of dudes, but I really didn't kill all that many people in the game.
Well, aren't you cool?
Yeah,
I didn't have enough ammo.
So anyways, then chase happens, a bunch of shit, but basically Ellie gets captured, and then creepy shit happens because she wakes up to him chopping up a human body, and then there's the controversial, is he going to want to rape her or not?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on rape, David?
I think he definitely wanted to rape her, and it was very creepy when he was touching her hand.
Yes.
Made me feel uncomfortable.
You're very special.
And I didn't want them to push the boundaries anymore. So when so when I'm Joel now and I'm trying to rescue Ellie, I was like rushing over to get her because I didn't want anything bad to happen.
Well, yeah, I was too. When eventually they were there and the building was on fire when Ellie was fighting him, like
yes.
the mini boss battle or whatever it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew that if I just stood there, the the building wasn't gonna burn down. Like, there wasn't a timer, but I still felt like I needed to like.
How did
run.
Here's my question. When I played this scene, I died a trillion times, even though I know you guys said it was easy. But
What, fighting David?
Yeah.
Yeah, super.
How did you even die once?
Because I kept stepping on glass and shit.
Well, then you walk around.
Yeah, you walk around the glass.
So anyways, I died right before the thing was on fire. So and then when I there was like no fire, and then I regenerated like my life, and then the whole place was just like burning down, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how did that happen? So how did it happen?
He takes like a lantern or something and throws it on the ground and starts burning it.
Yeah.
Like he intentionally sets the building on fire.
Yeah.
I played it, it just slowly burned more and more while he was chasing me.
I don't even remember. Yeah. I mean, I killed him pretty quick. It wasn't like.
Well, I got really scared when it first started. Like he looked at me and he had a gun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shot at me a few times and I like sprinted away because I was freaking out. But then, it didn't take very long.
Yeah. So
it was pretty easy, on the easier side of things that I had to do.
Definitely, compared to like fighting the bloaters.
I don't know. I didn't fight that many bloaters.
No, I didn't fight so many bloaters. So of course, it was one of those things where the whole rape thing was kind of subtle again, where it could be, couldn't be. I guess they didn't really have to push the boundary much further, but it was the world they live in, you know.
Yeah.
Alright, so eventually you both are reunited, and how do you get to the hospital? You just get to the hospital? Doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
right?
So on the way.
Eventually, the giraffes. That's the big thing.
The giraffes.
David, talk about the giraffes. I know you're a big giraffe fan.
So it was nice because you have to do the same thing over and over and over, and you have to get Ellie like up the little ledge, but then this time she was adamant, and so you get up there, and then she's like sprinting off, like trying to see something, and then you see the giraffes.
That was so poorly described.
That was awful. Okay, so I'll do this how you're supposed to podcast, David. Okay, so throughout the game, it does like the quintessential video game thing where you like go up to a wall and you're like, I need a boost, and you hit a button, your little AI guy comes up and you boost. So a lot of people like online, including myself, thought it was like a glitch at first because basically you get to near the end of the game and you ask for her to come to boost her and she just doesn't come and she's really pissed off. And eventually she does and you boost her up, but then she starts running and you don't really know why. She seems kind of excited, and then there's just a bunch of giraffes outside and you look at them for a while.
Well, it was interesting because she was like, oh, look over there. And I looked out, and I like stood there looking with Joel for a while, and I was like, I don't see anything. And I turned, and she was gone. And she was like, "Oh, it's whatever."
They're like cheetah
so
giraffes, man. They're so fast.
Yeah, I chased after her, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, look over here." And I kept looking out the window, and I was getting kind of annoyed. I was like, "There's nothing here." And then all of a sudden, you like run in that one room, and the giraffe's like right in your face,
right up in your grill.
They reminded me of the scene in Jurassic Park where Dr. Grant pets the long neck dinosaur.
Oh, of course,
the long neck. Yeah. You're thinking of Littlefoot or whatever.
I didn't want to say
From
the wrong
Land
name.
Before Time. You're getting mixed up.
Land Before Time.
I'm looking it up right now.
A Land
you guys
Before
can
Time.
deal. Here comes
screw it,
the
whatever.
key clicks.
So anyways,
that's a different podcast.
It was one. Watch soon for the special Land Before Time
it's
podcast.
It's a deep. What the hell? How do I say this?
Oh, Andy.
Diplodocus?
Dinosaur podcast.
Diplodocus.
Okay, this is taking a weird turn.
Yeah, you're a dipshit.
Or a sauropod.
Okay.
So anyways...
Yes, they were from the sauropod family.
It's a big moment just because, like, it's the first moment that's calming.
Oh, they're pretty big.
And pretty, if you will. For a game where it's just, like, zombies eating people alive and, like, people murdering other people. That's why I guess it's so impactful. And, of course, it's right before you get to the hospital where you meet up with the Fireflies. And Joel barely makes it there alive. And by the time he wakes up, they've already taken Ellie, and they're going to perform the surgery on her soon.
No, dude, you messed up.
What?
Remember, he didn't barely make it there alive. He was totally fine, and then he was walking, and remember, he accidentally fell in the bus in the river.
Yeah.
And then the bus, he got sucked under the water of the bus.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ellie got sucked underwater, and she can't swim, so you, like, swim out, and you see her silhouette off in the distance floating in the water, and you're like, shit! So you, like, swim up, and you pick her up, and then somebody bashes you in the head.
So Joel barely makes it there alive?
No, dude, he was fine.
So Joel barely makes it there alive?
He was fine.
Yeah. Well, he woke up in the hospital.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because...
Like, barely alive.
Face. No, you're exaggerating. He was barely alive more than that before.
What a more... So anyways, at that point, the real moral dilemma comes up in the game that the climax happens at, where basically we learn that, like, she is going to die unless you save her. And she could save all mankind. It's still kind of wishy-washy, like, if you listen to some of the recordings, you see that it's not going to be 100%. Like, there is a pretty good chance this will fail. So then you get in the whole decision manner of, do you save Ellie as Joel kind of selfishly because she's like the one thing you care about, or do you risk the chance of her dying, but she will die, you let her die to save potentially all of mankind?
I mean, you didn't actually have a choice. It was just like the mental moral dilemma.
Yeah, well, you don't have a choice because you whacked out as Joel.
He didn't seem to really hesitate at all. He knew what he was doing right away. I like the part where he, like, bashes the dude in the face or whatever, and he puts the gun up to his stomach, and he's like, "You'll tell me where she is right now?" And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he said, he's like, I don't have time for this. So he just, like, shoots him a few times.
It's like when he breaks bad.
Yeah.
It's like totally just like...
He does break bad.
But like up until that point, there's kind of like moments Joel is a dick, but they're kind of like warranted. He's kind of just like a total like asshole. Like that guy technically was innocent, and stuff like that. And then of course you got an even crazier murder scene later on.
Ew.
But so you fight your way through the hospital. Andy, I recall you saying you struggled with this.
Yeah, because I didn't have any bullets pretty much.
Oh,
and I know
here's that story again.
I know.
No bullet Andy.
And if you killed the dudes, they drop more bullets, but I really didn't have enough bullets to start killing people efficiently to get more bullets, like I just didn't use bullets. I didn't kill anybody in that whole first walkthrough, that chunk up to the doctor. I didn't kill a single person. I didn't even stealth kill them.
Wow.
Because I was having issues with, like, I'd stealth kill one and the other would see me. There were a bunch of situations where I was having a hard time, so it was mostly me sneaking around really slow, throwing bricks and bottles, and everybody being like, "What's that?" And then I'd scurry across over to another little hiding place.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically I killed everyone. I mean, that's it. I had a ton of ammo at that point. I had flamethrowers.
No, I didn't have any.
It was awesome. But
I never used the flamethrower once. I don't think I made
all the time.
Squirt one little flame thing.
I hate people online that use it, but that's a different story.
During online.
We'll talk about online. Don't worry. But yeah, basically.
Can we play? We should play.
Well, I'm waiting for my coworker to get the game back.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So, anyways, well, sharing is caring. Just throwing that out there. Just a quick tip with Chris.
It is caring.
So eventually you fight all your way up, killing a bunch of people, or not, I guess, if you're no bullet Andy. And eventually you break in. You get to the climax of the game, basically, where you see Ellie on the surgery table and all the doctors around her. And yeah, Andy,
you have a choice there.
Well, kind of.
No, I don't think you had a choice. I think
you have like some sort of choice because I walked in there and just blew the guy's brains out.
You have to kill the first guy. I'm pretty sure you have
thing.
to. And I slit his throat really graphically.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of ammo, but I had, a few bullets. So the moment that guy pulled out the knife and he's like, "I'm not gonna let you take her," or whatever, I just right in the head. Like I didn't even hesitate to see if he was gonna say anything or if I was gonna have another option. And then I didn't shoot the other two nurses. I just picked her up and started running.
So I got in there, and of course, I didn't really want to kill the guy because I'm like, just want to take him.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna
But then he
kill
takes
him,
out he takes out the scalpel and blocks you. And I still waited another 30 seconds to see yo, do I have an option here? So then I slit his throat because whatever. And then of course there's these two nurses there, and you can leave them alive or kill them. Doesn't really matter,
Yeah, I didn't shoot them.
I didn't shoot them because my girlfriend was watching. I would have otherwise.
Oh.
It's one of those things you do in video games.
Your girlfriend was going into nursing.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
She would have felt.
So she saw herself in those
basically,
nurses.
if I shot her, she'd be like, "Chris, will one day you shoot me?"
Yes.
And I didn't want to tell her the truth.
You didn't want to have that argument.
So then you run out with Ellie, basically fucking mankind, potentially fucking mankind, I should say. And
you don't just run out though. It's like a super.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Interesting, creepy, stressful, but also I don't know how to because at a certain point the sound effects all drowned out. It was just the piano, wasn't it? That piano theme they had.
Yeah, it's the adrenaline.
And it was. Yeah, and that's why I definitely had an adrenaline rush because I was running and I'd see a person and I would instinctively be like, okay, I can't go that way because I can't do anything. And I was for sure thought I was going in the wrong direction and I was going to turn a corner and get my head blown off.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they did a good job of making me make the choice to funnel the direct way. I'm not sure how many alternate paths there were, but
yeah,
that was super stressful but super exciting at the same time.
Yes. So
there was no way. I didn't expect both of those people to make it out of that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's a big thing. We'll get into the ending in a second because both characters actually make it out alive, which we'll talk about in a second. But of course, then you get to what I was referring to earlier, where then you meet up the what's her name, Marlene, the Firefly.
Yes.
She's
I don't know.
The black chick.
Yes,
Firefly.
Marlene.
And basically she says once again she gives a final plea and all this stuff, but Joel just blatantly shoots her in the face like it's nothing.
It was the stomach.
Because she said, he said, "You'll just come after her."
Yeah, and it was nice acting. But it was one of those, once again, reiterating that he doesn't give a fuck. He'll screw over all of mankind to ensure that she's gonna live. She'll kill someone else just to ensure potentially it makes her life easier.
They did a good job of that scene because she makes the plea and then it zooms in on Joel's face and he's kind of has this look on him. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to him, driving in the car.
Yeah.
And it lingers just long enough to where you have time to be did he give her up? Did he really give her up? Is he just
yeah,
driving away right now?
Yeah.
It lingers just the perfect amount of time before Ellie makes a noise in the back and you turn and realize that she's in the car.
Yeah. So it's once again, it's at this point a lot of people think Joel's kind of an asshole and an awful character, you know what I mean? Because he basically screws over. Well, once again, I need to reiterate because everyone's been debating online if the surgery would have even worked, and you can listen to the tape recordings throughout the thing, and you see they weren't 100%. So, I think, did they mention like there are others before or no? Did I make that up?
Joel said that, but he just said that to make
That's
Ellie
right.
not worry, like, because that's what he said. He was like, there were a bunch of them like you there, like, they didn't even really need you, sort of thing.
Yeah. So, and that's the big thing is, okay, so we get to the end, and Ellie basically blatantly face to face. Well, he explains beforehand that like they have a bunch of people there. It's fine. They didn't need you. We left. All this stuff, and she confronts him later and basically asks, like, "Are you lying to me? Is this really what's happening?" And at that point, he has a decision to tell the truth, and he just doesn't. He just stares her right in the eye and says, "No, that's what happened." And
terrible. No.
And it's one of those things where it's just like, you understand his motives, and in one way he's saving this girl's life and all this stuff, but at the same time, he's like a total asshole. You know? And it's one of those things where it's like he has the best intentions, but you gotta wonder, like, is that for the best?
Really the best intentions. It's he's being super selfish.
Yeah, but it's like half and half. It's like he's super selfish for himself in the fact that like he doesn't want to lose another person he cares about. He's already lost his daughter and all this stuff, but also like saving her. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, but realistically, he's being selfish because he's saving her.
Yeah.
But by proxy, killing all of the people.
Potentially,
because it's not. Work. We're not in a Walking Dead universe. Spoiler alert! Where everyone is infected already. You're living in a zombie verse where you have to get infected. Yeah. So technically, like if they just killed them all and whatever, like the humanity would still be fine. 28 days later.
Ella. Yeah, and waits for him to starve or kill them all.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like the bloaters are.
Well, no, they don't starve in this game because they just turn bigger.
That's
so
true.
The longer they go, they just become all bloaters.
I guess. So, yeah.
There should be something after the bloater.
No.
I
like that they stopped at bloater.
What's going to be next? Like
that it was
fungus dragons?
Yeah, fungus dragons.
Chinese meth dragons.
I liked that it wasn't like Left 4 Dead kind of zombies where it was a bunch of really different. It was the same
person just evolving.
Yeah, it was the same infection, just different stages.
Yeah.
Yes, which was based off the infamous podcast where you guys spoke about the ants.
It's our
in episode 7 of season 1.
We talked about
the Average Gamer podcast.
The popcorn zombie.
The popcorn ants. Popcorn zombie.
Yeah, that is a classic. It's a classic. Listened to over 1 million times on YouTube, right, Andy?
1 million times.
Divided by 1 million. You see what I did there?
Yes.
It was brilliant.
No.
So, once again, it's a really controversial ending because I actually liked it a lot because I didn't really see it coming, and no one died, but
that was more of a spoiler to, or a more.
Yeah.
That got more of a reaction
shocker
out of me than the actual ending.
And it's like one of those things where it's like, if you would have told me like completely spoiled from the get go, like, oh, both characters make it out alive, I'd probably be disappointed, just because it's such a gruesome game, and it's like they make it out, but then you see the ending and how it's not a happy ending at all. It's kind of depressing, and like the person you just spent 15 hours with is super selfish, kind of, and a jerk, and murdered people to save one.
What makes it worse is that she probably doesn't even believe him, because in that last scene,
she definitely did.
In that last scene, you play as her, and you see like through her eyes how he's like now suddenly like Father of the Year, and he's like, oh, you would have loved Sarah, and you would have like. And like loved to have played, and he was being super nice and like overly friendly, which he hasn't been the entire game.
Yeah.
And so I think she can definitely like spot all his bullshit and say like, okay, like he's lying. That's why she asked him again.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where she probably, like you were saying, probably realizes he's lying, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't matter. You know, like it's kind of like a weird world they live in where everyone's just like, well, there's another punch in the face to me, you know, and they just keep going.
There was nobody worth saving anyway. It wasn't like he was like, oh, humanity has hope, like, let's save humanity. It was like, humanity, like, rapes and pillages and kills, and, like, what's the point of saving any of them?
True.
I would have done the same thing.
Oh. So, yeah, that's how it goes. What's your rating, Andy, for the story, single player?
I don't like to give 10s, but I'd give it a 9.
What's a 10?
Andy's an optimist. There's always something better.
I guess you could. I don't know. I just don't like. I don't think. How many 10s are there?
Well, name 1 10.
Grand Theft Auto 4.
No.
No, I don't. I wouldn't give a 10 to GTA 4. I could give a 10 to Zelda. The Ocarina of Time. I could do that.
Okay, well, get back in your little hipster truck and go.
Whoa!
Hipster gaming. Yeah.
Hipster truck.
What is the hipster truck?
Hipster truck.
You and your granola lifestyle in Oregon now, all up into
I don't like to give 10s for anything. But if I gave 10s, I would give this a 10. But since I don't, I'm giving it a 9.
Oh boy.
I'll give it a 9.5. How about
I give it 10 10s.
10
10 10s.
10
Yeah,
10s.
it gets 100.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like, I don't have any major issues with it. I feel like that's...
Yeah, I have no major issues with it.
That's what you have to look at for rating a game, really, is, like, of course, is it good? Like, you can have no issues with a game, and it could just be a bad game. But I'm saying, like, I thoroughly enjoyed the whole entire game, and I don't have, like, a single complaint or a thing I would have gone, like, man, I really wish they did this, ... Like, there really is nothing. So basically, they achieved exactly what they sought out to do. Like,
I wish it was longer.
Well, I just thought about that in my head, but then again, I was like, wait, no, I don't. Because at one point, I was getting, like, okay, like, seriously, like, this is just like a wild goose chase at this point.
That's what, I mean, if anything, yeah, it should be short, like we were saying earlier, like, the whole plant scene, like, I understand the necessity of it, but it's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I like that part.
Alright, well, you see, it's a game for all people.
All people. Including people who don't give 10s.
I just don't. It's personal.
You need to get over yourself. You need to grow up.
I mean, I went out and bought a PS3 to play it, so I think that signifies...
That it's a 10.
Sure, it's a 10.
Alright, let's talk multiplayer real quick then. Unless there's any other final words.
No, we should just save that for the next podcast, because it'll be funny to annoy Shane with it.
Yeah,
that would be true. I don't get it. I don't.
But that sounds so fun. I want to play.
Chris, is there any way like I play without the PS3?
Can I play it on my Xbox?
Like, what if I put the disc in?
If I just put it in.
You think I could trick it? I'd trick it.
Maybe well, tune in next week.
Tune in next week. All right, that's about it. That's the last of the Spoilercast. Brought to you by deadscreen.net.
Cheers.
I'm Chris.
David.
See you all.
There isn't two Davids.
There's two Davids. See you, David and David too. Bye.
Bye.
So, what did you guys think of this part of the game and the character overall? That's it?
I was letting David go.
I was letting Andy go.
Why do you go? What the fuck is this?
Start all over. Start all over.
Just go. So start
okay,
talking.
so the next...
Start all over. Listeners, this is a coup.
A coup?
You guys have been betrayed.
A coup.
Oh.
This is a chicken coop.
Wait, you have to start all over. Wait, you have to start all over. Wait, you have to start all over. Wait, you have to start all over.